you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. As a note, Dr. Sugg will be arriving shortly. She is teaching a class in Madisonville and is on her way. She asked me to relay her apologies to you. And also welcome to our returning member, Mr. Mike Waller. Thank you. Where is he? The first item on our agenda is the board organizational meeting. And the first item would be open the floor for nominations for the board chairperson. As you see, I'm the current board chairperson, and I have indicated to the existing board that I would like to remain that chairperson. But if there is any discussion about that, or anybody else wants to nominate themselves, the floor is open. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Lisa Baird, you, as chairperson of the Henderson County Board of Education.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion, Ms. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Waller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. I'm honored to do so. The next thing we'd have to do would be to elect a board vice chairperson. Is there anyone who would like to nominate themselves or would like to be nominated to be board vice chairperson?
Madam Chair, I'd always get involved with the vice part of it and done it for years, so I'd like to stay involved with that vice stuff.
Probably more than happy to make that motion that you become vice chair. Thank you. I appreciate that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. You get the sign that goes with it, Mr. Waller.
I like that vice stuff.
Here's your sign. We apologize. We'll get more professional in a minute, we hope.
I don't know when.
Okay, we need to have the approval of the board treasurer, which is, we need a motion to approve Ms. Cindy Cloutier as treasurer of the Henderson County Board of Education. Could I hear that motion, please? Thank you, and I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Cindy Cloutier, you are our treasurer. I also need a motion to approve Ms. Morgana Stanley as secretary of the Henderson County Board of Education.
Make that motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Morgana Stanley is secretary. And we need to approve the regularly scheduled board meeting dates and also our monthly work session dates. Has everyone had a chance to review the schedule as it's listed? If so, is there any dates that need to be changed? Discussion?
The only thing I just wanted, and it doesn't matter, it's a work session, so it doesn't matter as much, that I won't be here on March the 6th. So,
I'd like to ask one question, though. I mean, we've got 6 dates as work sessions, but, I mean, what do we plan on doing? Because we do have policies that allow us to call special meetings for special items within a 24 hours if you call them, or if 3 board members need. I'm just a little curious about the 6 work sessions with nothing identified yet.
We have used the work sessions in the past year, Mike, to delve into any subjects that are maybe need more discussion, so it won't take as much time to our regular board meetings. A lot of those has been building questions, working on Spotsville School, getting that to go forward. We also in the past year worked on our policy reviews because we were reviewing all of the policies, and instead of taking the time during a board meeting to go through each one of those, we did work sessions. So they are not as formal board meetings, and they are not nearly as long. And that's what the purpose of that was, so we could get more done and not having all during the meeting. So, your thoughts?
Well, if we needed those, I thought that's what the special call meetings were for. So, I mean, if we're going to identify work sessions, I thought we'd put some subject matter to deal with on those. But it's my first day.
I understand.
24 years.
I understand. Do I?
We've we've only scheduled them currently through June, and obviously, if we don't have business to take care of, we don't have to, we could cancel it. And if we see after our first 5 actually, we don't have to continue to schedule them in July, August, September. But please know I work at the pleasure of the board, so whatever you all need.
I would like to continue to keep them at least until June, and then we can reevaluate it at June if we decide that they're not necessary, or if we decide we don't have enough on an agenda for a particular one of these, we can cancel. I would like to have them scheduled in case we can do that, if that's at all possible. So
if I'm hearing correctly, if there's not something, today's January 23rd, right?
yes.
We've got a work session scheduled February 6th with nothing identified. So if for whatever reason that we don't have anything special to deal with on February 6th, we're going to cancel it.
Yes, sir.
Right-o?
Right-o. Okay. So do I hear a motion to approve the 2017 regular scheduling board and the first 5 working board sessions? Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And Mr. Waller, this is something new that we have put in, probably since you have been on the board, but we approved the agenda as it's listed as we're fixing to go through here. So we approve that way if there's any changes or anything, which there can't be changes tonight because it's a special call board meeting, but during our normal working board meeting, that way everyone understands what's on the agenda and what's supposed to be. So I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda as listed. Thank you. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Time out.
Stephen?
Let it happen more than twice today.
You're not bothering me. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Back on there. There you go.
All right. All right. So we got that? So everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to student and staff recognition, Ms. Margana.
Thank you. Good evening. We have 3 students that we want to recognize this evening. I actually do not see the 3 of them. That's the first. Usually the judges' scholars are always here. At South Middle School, Madeline McCormick, a 6th grade student, was recognized as a judges' scholar. Oh, basketball. Okay. And at North Middle School, Hunter Hayden, 8th grader. And at Central Academy, Brianna Taylor was recognized as a Judges Scholar. So we wanted to make sure, and you all are familiar that have been here, the Judges Scholar is a person who's recognized every month. A school can choose 1 student in the entire school to be recognized by our fiscal court judge, Judge Schneider, and they declare it their particular day, and they have a big time. They get to sit up at the bench and watch all the business that happens in the county that day. So could I ask Ms. Johnson and Mr. Rush to make sure to deliver their medals of excellence to them? Awesome. Congratulations to those students. Pretty special. The other recognition we'd like to do is for our board members. January is spotlighted across the state of Kentucky as School Board Member Recognition Month, and we know that our board members spend tireless hours preparing for the meetings, being involved in the business of the board, looking at budgets, looking at facilities, help manage our system, and that directly relates to our students. So board members, we want to take a little short time out tonight and tell you thank you. And we have some special guests that are also going to come up and speak about our board members as well. Could I have our student ambassadors, Allison, Mallory, and Shaquan, come on up. And let's have our board members come out front, just like we ask our other staff and students to do. All right, come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shaquan Harris. I'm thankful to be here today. Short on time, but I would like to truly and honestly thank Henderson County's board members, the whole team today, for my whole senior year, for all the programs that are here, and the clubs for the healthier lunches, and I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, but I'll just honestly, truly thankful to be here, and I'm glad I can be here and stay here and graduate and strive for the greatest. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Alice McClanahan. I'm a student ambassador, also the senior class secretary, and I've also been involved in varsity softball for several years. Because of all these activities I'm involved in, I get to see how much y'all work more than most students at HTHS. And I would just like to thank you all and let you all know that you are appreciated for all you do for not only the school district, but also the individual students.
Hello, I'm Mallory Williams, and I would just like to take the time out to thank the Henderson County Board of Education board members for your commitment to the education on behalf of my fellow students, not only at Henderson County High School, but district-wide. Thank you for helping to make sure that we are given the opportunity to be learners today and leaders tomorrow by supporting educational experiences that are extraordinary. Thank you.
It doesn't get any better when you get a thank you. We also want to make sure that we recognize Dr. Sally Sugg, and she'll be joining us here shortly. It doesn't get any better than that when you get a genuine thank you from the students. We're going to take just another 2 minutes to pause and serve some lemonade and cupcakes, and then we'll get right back into our agenda. So, sure.
I'm good. I already had class. Thank you. No, I already know.
What did I do wrong that caused you to
It's,
go?
well, see, when it opens up like an attachment, I always have to look up here because the meeting is what this is. So when that attachment opens, it's going to be right here. So you
So I
only
close
close
it up
that.
here. Okay.
Yeah, I did it. I can't tell you how many times I did it. I'm like, oh.
Did it just disappear
Well,
on you?
no, I messed up. Yeah, instead of closing, I had the attachment open on the dates, and I
But it's
closed
easy
it here and wiped it all out. So because that's the way I use, that's the way it does on my computer. You know,
See,
it
that's
comes
how
up
it
here,
has.
opens on that, I close
Chromebooks
that, and it
are
comes right back to this. But I'll know now because I'm gonna ask Tracy to close that attachment.
I just grab that mouse and operate both of them. She is left-handed, so
That's all right. That'll work fine. That'll work fine. Just like it, doesn't it? Hey.
I know.
We just like feed them and watch them.
No, I don't know. Unless he's like one of those. Oh, okay.
He looks familiar.
Well, he may have been involved in building this. Yeah. He's part of the architecture. I haven't seen him. The guy that's in there about building his now Codell or his name is Chris James. Okay.
I know I knew you. Because he had got
There you go.
place together. I met him somewhere, I think it was in Chris. Yeah, I sent him a bunch of stuff about fishing. I knew it was down somewhere. He wanted. Watched the Masters on TV somewhere. Him and Dr. Richie drank a lot of beer that day. I want you to know I was the only. I was a designated driver. Yes, I was.
They were eating pizza, academic team made at these high school academic, and what Andrew's teachers said.
Thank you, Andrew.
I do tell him not to tell all of our secrets.
They always manage to tell us kind of things.
He's like, and I didn't say it was for
Okay, something short. That's good. That's why we had that though. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I remember those days.
They're eating comes meal time because of meeting night together.
I know. Hey,
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, stand
from the
up.
Board of Education, I want to thank you all for the recognition for the work we do. It is humbling, and we do appreciate it. Almost everyone on this board, currently and past that I have ever met, does this for the passion for the kids. It's definitely not for the money, I say tongue in cheek. It is for a passion of the kids, and we enjoy what we do, but we appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to public participation and recognition of guests. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Hearing none, and we've already done our recognition of guests, can we move on to approval of the minutes in the prior meeting? Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes from December 30th special emergency meeting? Any corrections, discussions? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes as listed. Thank you, Ms. Tracy. I'll approve that, second that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Resignation of board member, Ms. Morgana Stanley.
Sure, Madam Chair, members of the board, as you're aware, we have had Nate Butler resign. His family is relocating to Kansas, which is his wife's hometown. His grown children will as well all be there at in the same town. So the process, we've been consulting, Ms. Newton and myself have been consulting with the Commissioner's office. Tomorrow, we expect that it will be in the newspaper, advertised in the newspaper, and then there's a requirement that we advertise again in 7 days. Anybody interested that lives in that district can pick up an application from Ms. Newton's office. And all applications, the advertisement will say that all applications will be due by February 3rd to the Commissioner. At that point, the Commissioner reviews applicants. Either he or he sends a couple folks down, a team, to come down to Henderson and interview applicants, and then he will make the recommendation for our vacant board seat. And the person will sit there until November 2018.
Spangana, do I also understand if there has to be at least 2 persons to apply, or we have to advertise again? Is that correct?
Yes, that part is true. They strongly recommend to have more than one applicant. And so if we don't receive more than one applicant within the first, by February 3rd, yes, we will have to advertise again.
So we would encourage members of our community interested in doing this to please step forward. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to committee reports. I don't believe there was any committees that met during December. Is that correct? Okay. Moving on to other reports, Spotsville update. John Hagan-Codell, you're up, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I wish I had a lengthy report to give, but as you know, the last couple months have not been very kind to the construction industry. To date, we have actually lost 30, actually to date, it's 34 working days between the adverse weather and some unsuitable soils issues, which I'll get to in a moment. But to date, we've got about 400 feet of footer in the ground. About half of that, the stem wall has been placed. Hopefully, over the next 2-3 days, the rest of that stem wall will be going in. Site utility work has started. Next couple of days, we'll be putting in some storm drainage, trying to help with our unsuitable soils issue. But really, we're just playing by the weather at this point. I think some of you are aware of the unsuitable soils we've encountered. It's really getting to a point where the civil engineer and the special inspection agency has directed us to stop work in many of the areas. The site is a very silty material, which our bearing capacity for our footers is not able to be met. So we basically have two options. One is to stop work and wait for the site to dry out, which being January, that could be quite a while. The other option is to over-excavate to a deeper depth to find some good material, bring it back up with stone. Obviously, that's an extra expense to the contractor and to the board. So before we made any movement to start that process, we wanted to bring it to the board and get your input on how to proceed. But I would say by the end of this week, we'll be to a point where we will have to stop work. Unless something changes drastically with the storm drain installations, but I don't expect that to be the case. But hopefully, with your direction, we can give the contractor direction to continue. Otherwise, we'll be forced to basically stop work.
John, I don't see a BG paperwork attached to this evening's meeting, so do you have an estimate of what getting down to that grade and bringing it back up would cost, or when will you be bringing that to us?
We don't know that, and that would be because we don't know how deep we'd have to go. It would be based on a case-by-case basis. The engineer will go out in front of the contractor, take some test samples, try to determine how much deeper they would need to go. In some cases, we may not do anything. Of the 400 or so feet we've currently installed, we ran into two instances of this such, so about 60 feet or so. So if that's any kind of indication, I can't say that. I hope it's not the entire site, but I can't give you an estimate at this point. No.
We don't even have a worst-case scenario.
Worst-case scenario would be very expensive, but I don't know what that figure could be. We do have a unit price for the stone placement in the contract. I believe it's $38 a ton, if I'm not mistaken, but the cost of the excavation is an unknown. So,
I understand we need to move forward. Other board members, questions, comments? Dr. Sugg, welcome.
The question I was going to ask is exactly what you asked, and very expensive doesn't help us.
right.
I know that you can't give us a specific figure, but can you give us something to go on to make this decision?
We've requested pricing from the contractor on a per foot basis for the excavation as well. I haven't gotten that from them. That's something we're going to have to negotiate up front so that we do have a per foot price in hand so we know what we're getting into. But I don't have that at this moment.
If we wait, I mean, what's the time frame on that? I mean,
right now, if you add in the 34 days we've lost thus far, the final completion date is August the 6th of 18. So you'd be looking at
as of right now.
As of right now.
Which would be the beginning of school.
Right.
Do you think it would be within the next few days that you could give us an idea of the cost?
Of the cost?
Uh-huh. I mean,
is that
He could try, but It's when you go out in the site, the footer runs, obviously around the whole perimeter of the site. And as he said, we might go for 35, 40 feet and it'd be okay, and then all of a sudden the next 100 has to.
I could be able to give you the
So,
per foot cost,
yeah.
but not the total estimate, because it's an unknown until we actually go out there and start taking the tests and dig.
Mr. Mike, what's your thought?
You have pumps working there right now, don't you?
Yes, sir. We've got the pumps running. Also, we've dug some trenches trying to let that water out. The civil engineer actually sent out a couple of plans today of some additional drainage to be put in. We're going to go ahead and install what storm drainage we can without boxing ourselves in. Essentially, a lot of the storm system can't be completed until the existing school goes away. So that's an additional problem. But we'll be able to install as much of it as we can, trying to get the water out of there.
So then there's only two options: either give you the permission to go ahead and start excavating, and whenever you reach a spot, just continue excavating until you have to fill it with rock. And we still don't know what that cost is, other than it's $38 a ton per rock. And what size rock you putting in there?
57s.
It takes a lot of rock to fill up a square foot.
Yeah.
Or we hold off and push it back. The pushing back doesn't cost you any money, it's just time. To go ahead and excavate and fill with rock, there's money. So it's just a matter of what you want to do. You want it time or money.
I think I would feel more comfortable if I had some kind of an estimate as to, am I talking $10,000? Am I talking $50,000? Am I talking $500,000? I don't even know what we're talking about. And so that's kind of hard for me to say, yes, go ahead. Like, I don't know what the time's worth.
I don't think you want to say go ahead right now when those dollars you said won't touch it.
I understand. I mean, I hate to come over every other month, come up here and give you bad news, but this time of year it's tough.
Well, and that's the thing I think we all knew going into this that this time of the year it is. It's just weather it wreaks havoc on a building project, and so I appreciate you keeping us informed, and that's a good thing.
I mean, I'm not a civil engineer nor a mechanical engineer, but I would have to say that 10 tons of 57 rock is going to cover about 7 to 10 cubic yards, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Probably about right.
That's not a whole lot of area when you start talking about footers that are 20, 30 foot deep.
So it like I say, it's I envision it costing a significant amount of money. What that is going to be, I can't say. I'd hate to even put a number out there.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a possibility by the end of this week you would have a better notion? I mean, I know we can't say, worst case scenario, if every foot of it has to be dug out and filled in,
Right.
what the cost would be. I need some kind of, I'm like Mr. Watt, I need something to say this is going to cost me this much in time or this much in money so that I can judge where to spend what. I don't even know where
we
to.
put that together.
Could you think you could do that by the end of the week?
I'll make sure that happens.
Okay. Board members, if we would need an answer, would you be opposed to having a special call board meeting for 20, 30 minutes to give approval once we get that information or to move forward? What do you all think? I don't know that we can put this off until our working session, which is 2 weeks away. That's going to put him any farther behind if we decide that we do want to do this.
Well, it's pretty obvious that several of us don't have enough information to make a decision. If he can give us more information and to make a better decision by the end of this week, I mean, I'm all in for it to discuss it. But right now, again, it's just a matter of time or money. And the money is, I'm not familiar enough to having looked into what was the scope of the job yet to
the
know
project, yes, sir.
what we have as contingency on this plan.
I understand. Ms. Tracy, what do you think about that?
I'd like to hear something this week on an idea of how much it costs per foot, right?
Right. Okay.
Dr. Sung?
I
I would agree to have an emergency meeting. That's fine. We can do that. I can make myself available for that. But I'm still not convinced, and that's what our discussion would be. I'm still not convinced that we shouldn't wait. So it's a lot to consider, and we could look at the figures, but still, considering everything all together, it might be a decision that we make to have to wait.
I'm not in disagreement that the waiting may be the best option, but
But we need to have some kind of numbers. So if you could, our plan right now is if you could get us some information by the end of the week, we will call an emergency meeting for this board for purposes of discussion to make that decision one way or the other, for you to move on or for you to wait.
Appreciate that.
Is that fair? Ms. Morgana, good with that? Good with that? Okay, cool. Thank you. Anything else you need to tell us?
Anything to add, Craig? I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. AP Capstone Project. Ms. Tilley?
Good evening. My name is Andrea Tilley, and I'm a teacher at the high school. I teach AP English, and I also help coordinate events and recognition and scholarship opportunities for our AP programs and students. And I'm here hopefully with great news. Henderson County High School has been accepted into the AP Capstone program, which is a subsidiary of the College Board. Many of you may be familiar with AP. AP is advanced placement, and College Board offers curriculum through high schools for students to take courses where they may earn college credit. And AP Capstone is a program that has been instituted 3 years ago now, 2014. It was a piloted program in 2012 and 2013, and schools were able to apply in 2014. Henderson County High School applied in 2015, and we were accepted in 2016. And so we feel very fortunate to be accepted. The Capstone program is a series of AP courses that students are able to take and eventually receive recognition from the College Board through an AP Capstone diploma. Obviously, I said the courses, I'll go into some more detail in just a moment on how those work, but students take a series of courses, two in particular. One is AP Seminar, the other is AP Research, and those two courses, combined with students taking 4 additional AP courses and earning qualifying scores, would earn them the designation of receiving a capstone diploma. I won't go into all the detail, but this is the overview. The capstone diploma, as I said, can be arrived at by students. And again, I should say that this is through the College Board who will award that designation. Students have an opportunity to take first a course called AP Seminar. And that course is where students will look at individual research, team research, and also provide a presentation in addition to an AP exam at the end of the year. Once students complete that course, they have the opportunity to take AP Research. AP Research is a course where they continue to expand upon those research and argumentation skills by completing an academic paper. And the really great thing about that course is there's freedom of choice for the topics that the students choose. And so it really is a year-long research project where students produce a paper at the end that will be submitted to the College Board. It's a 5,000-plus word paper, and then they also orally defend that position, and that's submitted to the College Board. Those two courses, again, along with 4 additional courses, AP courses that students would take, if they earn qualifying scores, what the College Board would award a qualifying score, which is a 3 out of a 5-point scale, they could receive the capstone recognition. That's a great opportunity for students who choose to complete all of those courses, all 6, but students also have the opportunity to complete those courses individually. Students can complete AP Seminar individually and choose not to take an additional AP course. They do, however, have to have the seminar course as a prerequisite before they take AP research. And this really is just a way, again, for our students to distinguish themselves in the competitive academic environment that they're all entering into as a post-secondary, and then also in the scholarship recognition as well. It's colleges who see this it will help define for them a set of skills that students have. And again, so they don't have to go into the detail. It will just be they'll recognize the capstone skill requirement. The obvious benefits that I just mentioned with the distinguishing students, giving them the opportunity to distinguish themselves. More specifically, the courses will focus on research, argumentation, and communication skills. The AP seminar course, which is the first course in the series that students have the opportunity to take, helps students, exposes students to some of those same communication research skills that will help them succeed in additional advanced courses or additional AP courses. So it's really a nice complement to the other courses. Sometimes I said students aren't always aware, I should say, or feel that they're understanding instead of those skills, and so this is a nice complement to that. And go into a little bit more specifics, even in courses where it's content specific and students are having to learn content, this is a course that complements it with the skill of the research and the skill of the writing and the skill of the argumentation that goes along with that. The other benefit, another benefit, is the interdisciplinary format. Students getting choice for their research can choose topics not just particular to what might seem to be an English style course, even though the seminar course right now is an English elective. They can choose areas of interest in science, social studies, any area they really have an interest in, and they'll be able to research, present, and work with others in a team presentation within that discipline. The research course in particular requires students to have a mentor in that area. I've already touched upon the distinguishing themselves. I should also mention too that these courses, the new courses, AP Seminar and AP Research, do provide students an opportunity for college credit if they earn qualifying scores. That it's dependent though upon the colleges, and we always encourage students to look into those schools where they're interested to see if they offer credit and what kind of credit they offer. I looked at two different perspectives of schools who have been admitted into or accepted into the AP Capstone program already, and I chose these two because there was some student spokespersons from these schools. And there's a little video link that we'll look at in just a moment. One is Carmel High School in Carmel, Indiana, in the Indianapolis area, and the other is from Melbourne, Florida. And you can see the Carmel school, by their enrollment, is quite a large school, and Melbourne is not quite as large as we are, but we fall somewhere in between. And both of these have been high-performing schools historically and continue to be. And again, they were two of the schools that were initially accepted in 2014. And there's a little video that, click that.
My name is Wesley Middleton. I'm a junior at Carmel High School in Indiana. I'm a point guard for the Carmel High School basketball team. We have a really good program here. We're currently the 4th best team in the state. It's always exciting to play a game at Carmel High School. We have a great student section. They get pretty loud, so.
My name is Shemai Tenali, and I'm a junior at West Shore Junior Senior High School, which is in Melbourne, Florida. My friends and I go to the beach a lot. We also, go to the movies, we go bowling. I just turned 16 a couple of days ago, and I'm hoping to get my driver's license in a couple of weeks, so I'm hardcore preparing for that driver's test.
I chose to take AP Capstone because I wanted a class that would challenge me intellectually, and I like the freedom that Capstone offers.
AP Capstone is different from the other courses offered at high school because you're really allowed to pick the subject which you research. We have learned how to look at a piece of writing and instantly evaluate, is the author credible, is the research biased in any way, and we really evaluate things further than in any other class. So it's taught me to look at any sort of research or any piece of writing in general in the same way.
AP Capstone is an innovative cross-curricular program that is really meant to prepare kids to be successful at the college level. It's not only preparing kids to master certain skills, but the content is not the focus. These skills are meant to be transferable to everything that they're doing.
I became interested in hip-hop just through hearing it. I like the beats, I like the rhythm. For our group project, we chose to look at hip-hop and see if it causes any illegal behavior in America's youth. And we chose this topic by coming up with ideas that we all had in common. In Capstone, it's really important that each group member is there for each other. And it's also interesting how much we get to know each other through the process.
One of our research papers that we wrote for AP Capstone was about the Indian River Lagoon, which was very close to home. It sort of like hit us a little bit harder than researching about some distant environmental pollution. So my paper focused on the environmental approaches we could do to improve the condition of the lagoon.
It's so much fun just working with your classmates in more complex ways than you will in any other class.
I think Capstone is incredibly beneficial to students because I've learned how to write a paper and actually make it concise, make it effective, get my point across in a fashion that is understandable.
I'm thinking more analytically, I'm thinking deeper. They're just skills that are vital in college and in possible future careers.
I think colleges might look at the fact that we have an AP Capstone diploma and be impressed with it because it shows them that we can work in a group. It shows them we can collaborate past a high school level.
The tagline I tell my kids all the time is, we are making you educated consumers of information.
You're getting vital skills that you're going to need later in your career.
And it's a really nice middle ground between high school and college so that we can be better prepared for the future.
So we're obviously hoping that in a year we have our own student perspectives who can come and share their experiences. I like the students' perspectives here because it highlights the choice and the students seem excited about it and are recognizing the benefits beyond just that classroom. And it brings together that interdisciplinary format where it brings different content areas together. So. Currently, there are 650 schools worldwide who have been accepted into the AP Capstone program. And I tried to highlight our state, of course, and then a neighboring one. There are 9 schools in Indiana who have been accepted, 8 schools in Kentucky, and we feel, again, fortunate to have that opportunity. We've had strong AP programs for several years. So we're hoping that we would be accepted, but not necessarily surprised either that we were accepted. So we've been in contact and collaboration with some of the schools that are on the list. Currently, the AP seminar program in its first year that is taught by Sherry Dawson, she's in communication with Westfield High School in Indianapolis. She's working closely with Signature School in Evansville. There are several teachers there. And then we're also working with McCracken County. They were one of the initial schools in the program. Our current enrollment in the seminar course, the first in the series, is 82 students. We're offering that in the 10th through the 12th grade. The majority of those students are 10th graders at this point. There are a few 11th graders and maybe 2 to 3 12th graders. 12th graders can take that course. If they're taking that for the first time, it again is not going to allow, as a 12th grader, not going to allow them to complete the AP Capstone diploma. But some students are just interested in that course and the aspects that it provides. The research course will be offered in 2017-18 next year. And so we're currently going to look at our enrollments, and hopefully that will be positive as well. We seem to have a lot of student interest so far, and we're just really excited to offer this opportunity to Henderson County students. Thank you.
Any questions, board members, for Ms. Tilley?
I just have a comment. I just want to say that I personally observe the dedication that Ms. Tilley has had for AP, as well as all the other AP teachers and administrators and staff at the high school. And one of the things that the U.S. News and World Report uses to rank schools is the AP program. And I think our first time we were in it, I think we were ranked maybe in 13 or 14. So, you know, I think that we need to give a pat on the back to Ms. Tilley and all of those that work so hard, because they are working not only to expand the opportunities for kids, but they're also looking for students that wouldn't ordinarily sign up for an AP class, that maybe don't have the confidence to take an AP class, and to keep the standards and the excellence high, but also to make it very inclusive. And I think our numbers, we've seen it in the past, and I think they prove that. And I just wanted to personally say thank you.
Thank you. And again, very kind, but we have wonderful AP support team at the high school with our teachers, and obviously, I said, we're very thankful that the school administrators and, of course, the board supports that as well. Again, it provides great opportunities for students.
Ms. Tilley, is there any additional cost to our students or to our schools for participating in the Capstone Project?
Like other AP courses, teachers who are teaching for the first time will have to attend a professional development. That is 1 week. And at this point, that the AP seminar and research course, this year they're saying that is $1,050 for the week-long training, and then there's additional travel. Last year, Sherry Dawson, who went, though, applied for an AP training scholarship and received that. And so we're hoping when the decision is made for the instructor for research that we'll apply for the scholarship again this year.
But no other additional cost to our students that are enrolled in this?
The cost for that would be the AP exam at the end of the year.
Correct.
There is, the AP exam last year was $141, so there is an additional, it's a higher cost than the traditional AP exams because of the presentation component, the uploading of the courses, and there's a team of scorers through the College Board. So it's a little more involved with the scoring process than the past AP exams.
Were there scholarships available for students that possibly, because I remember last year when you all were working on AP, there were students, like Dr. Suggs said, that typically had not been involved, and there was a scholarship program for students to help pay for that, correct?
Yes, there is. We have offered the AP Catalyst Scholarship for the last several years, and that has partially been funded by the Preston Foundation. And some of the monies that we've received is through donations at the high school as well. And that's really twofold. Students who are in need and students who are taking more than one AP course. So it could be a student who has a sibling or two who are taking AP courses. And so we review those each year. Also, students who are involved with free and reduced lunch can receive their exam fees at no cost. That's dependent upon federal and state guidelines. Each year, we did receive information this year that students who are on free and reduced lunch will have their exams paid for.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Didn't we cover the cost of the AP exams in the past? I mean, I thought that was...
There may have been a situation where the state did not provide funding for free and reduced lunch students, and then the board did step in and pay that cost.
I'm pretty sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that particular incident, and one of the problems is you don't get the information about whether the federal government is going to pass that money on down to the state until like February or,
And then the state doesn't.
right. So
make that
students
decision
are
until
already in
April sometime.
course. They're already planning to take the exam, and so the board generously has kicked in the money when and if the government didn't have it, we'll pass it along.
May want to consider doing that too.
Yeah,
part of our
we know that
budgeting
students would be
process.
grateful for that.
Yes, Chad. Thank you. We appreciate that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Moving on to special education. Ms. Bonnie?
Hello, good evening. Welcome, Mr. Waller.
Hi.
And it's great. I want to thank the board members for your dedication to in this month of your celebration. So, yeah. So I've got two PowerPoints. One says December 1 child count, and one says mental health and behavior report. And Robin will help me move through these. And Robin, it's going to be quick, so because I just put these in PowerPoints for you so you'd have the data ahead of time. So I didn't. So as you know, every December 1, all across the nation, we turn in our child count, and that's how they determine funds, federal funds and state funds. So the district-wide, we have 7,613 students, and out of those, 14% are special education or have an IEP. And then another 2.5%, or 192, have what we call a 504 plan. So then the next just kind of gives you information about special education population by disability. So you can see the majority are speech only. And our numbers are a little high, 14%. The state is at 12.76, I think it is. A lot of our extra comes in speech only. And I think some of that, as we look, is because we have this great, wonderful preschool where we get kids at 3 and can identify that they might need some help. So I think that's what throws us up a little bit. But between us and Christian County is like at 10%, but Hopkins County is at like 16%. So we're comfortably in the middle of Western Kentucky Co-op, about the same, with districts the same size. If you go to the next one, the special education staff and transportation. Last year we had 163. We've got 151 this year. And we have 160 kids that we transport specially. They're T5. We bill for Medicaid for that. Okay? Then the next one is just the special education totals by grade. And if you're interested in each school, I separate them out by speech only because Ms. Marcana Stanley likes to see them that way, and being my superintendent, I like to do that. And so
Good move.
So yeah, I thought so. So you can kind of see that, where the percentages are. Speech only is just such a mild disability, and you can see when they get to the high school, there are none that are speech only. So we, get them out as quick as possible. Okay, if you go to the next one, gave you just the numbers to look at from previous years. Since I've been back, I just wanted to take a look. If you can see, the DD at the very bottom is down. DD is developmentally delayed. It's for kids under the age of 9. And the reason that number is going down is because we are identifying, if we clearly know what a child's disability is, we don't just say you're DD. We go ahead and label whatever the need is. So that's gone down because I think we're tightening up there. As you can see, autism is still, on the rise and has been for years now. OHI and SLD, those numbers can get mixed up quite a bit. OHI is other health impaired, and SLD is students with a learning disability, and sometimes those ADHD kids can go in and out of those different disability categories. So one will go up and the other will go down, and it's just the nature of the beast on that one. Okay, then funding allocation, which is Ms. Cloutier's favorite part of special education, is we can see that our FY17 budgeted was $6 million between the SEEK add-on and IDEA B allocations. But you can also see that we managed to overspend that, and but it doesn't count the Medicaid that we bill, and also the maintenance of fiscal effort, which is, locally you would contribute to your programs also. But so that's our funding. And then the last one is I haven't ever reported the 504 to you before, but Section 504 is kids that are diagnosed with some type of health issue that might not be significantly impaired and need an IEP, but need some type of plan for accommodations. They often, either one can have a health plan, either with an IEP or with a 504. So we have 192 of those kids, and you can kind of see where those are. Are there any questions about the December 1 count? I will tell you one quick little funny story. I know we're in a hurry, but we have a new teacher cadre, and so we go on and on. December 1 count, December 1 count. We got to have our numbers right because it's dollars. And so we had like 6 brand new teachers in, and we were talking about December 1 count. And Carla Haynes all of a sudden stopped and she goes, "Do you know what a December 1 count is?" And they all shook their heads, no. So they had no idea. But it is all about our funding. So then the other PowerPoint I have, and I put 2 little booklets by your seat. The teacher in me was prepared there ahead of time. But we'll go through the PowerPoint, and this will be also quick. In 2001, Special Ed hired a social worker to help us with agencies and mental health and emotionally and behavior disturbed kids. And then, and so that was Jamie Like, who's presented to you many times, who's fantastic. And then down the road, Student Services, Mr. Steiner's hired a couple more social workers. So we start realizing that we need the help of special agencies. And if you go on to mental health and first aid, Mr. Steiner's actually led this also. If first aid, the way I understand it is if you have first aid for a Band-Aid, whether or not you have a Band-Aid or you need to be rushed to the emergency room, that's first aid. In mental health, it is the same. Does the child just need to see a guidance counselor, or does he need to go to a psychiatrist? And so that Mr. Steiner, if you'll look there, I hope those numbers are right. 200 in 2015, they trained 105 adults. In 2016, 184 adults trained. And that from those trainings, 548 kids had some kind of referral to some type of a counselor or therapist. So, okay. So these are just to share with you what all we've been doing about health, mental health, and behavior in the past. So the next one is then in 2015, we had positive behavior support training. We did the train the trainer. So all the schools sent several people in. They were trained by trainers, and then they'd go back to their schools and train. And that was about positive behavioral supports. Then last year we did train the trainers with a teacher toolbox. We gave teachers tools to actually take back and share with their staff, and we did train the trainers again. And I don't know if it was Joe or who I heard say the other day, but really you get your biggest bang for the buck when you train your own trainers because they don't leave. I know we've had some conversations where sometimes, somebody might think, well, it might be better to go, but this way we train the trainers and they're here to stay. So hopefully that's working for us. So we did another day in 2016 where we pushed out some more stuff. But at the beginning of this year, wherever I went, whatever school I was in, principals would say to me, how they had spent an hour or an hour and a half with a child who was just completely out of control. And I'm sure you all have heard that too. What are we going to do? What can we do? So I pulled together two of my school psychs and Jamie Like, and we went to see Ms. Stanley and Mr. Steiner to say, here's some plans that we'd like to do. And they gave us support. First thing out was, if I can turn my page, was meet with the principals and share with them. And I gave you all a link. It's not on this page, it's on the next one. We're not going to show it tonight. But I gave you a link of a video that we saw that was an aha moment for me with Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, and how post-traumatic stress disorder is in children when they come to school, and that we have to start right there. And so we met with the principals, we shared that video, we also looked at number 3 says inventory of the haves. What have we got already in our schools? We have guidance counselors, vice principals, family resource centers. Let's look at them. Let's see what they do and how we can use that. And then number 2 is collaborative partners. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I haven't reported on this in a long time, but around 2001, actually, I did not know how to access the services in our community for our kids. And Jamie Like and I met at a conference, and she said, well, we don't know how to get into the schools. We said, well, that's a perfect collaborative partner. And so we started a luncheon. So every other month, and I know most of you have been to them, they would come, we would have a lunch. They'd bring their own lunch, and different agencies would present to our guidance counselors or our principals about what they can do for our kids. And so we reflected on that and realized our numbers have gone down. So Ms. Stanley let us have a restart, and we just did that a couple of weeks ago. We had like 72 participants. It was a great day, and principals have committed to Ms. Stanley to send people every other month, and so that we can keep that going. So because that's a wealth of resources right there. Okay. So then this next page has the link on it that I hope you have a chance to watch, because it was really an aha moment for me. And I've been in this business for 40-some years, and I went, whoa. So that's our plan, was to look at our hats and then to just talk about mental health. Okay. So then now what are we going to do? We're trying to build capacity in our schools. This little purple is understanding adverse childhood experiences, and that's the first one. It says TIC train, that's trauma-informed care. We have a group of four professionals that are doing train the trainers and are coming back and sharing with us. In fact, all of our schools have now, the trainers have been trained. We're just waiting for a day that maybe could even be a snow day, where teachers come in after like 9 o'clock and we can get the teachers trained. We've got collaborative partners again, and then special education. We're doing parent advocates. We've identified one parent in each school to maybe help us know, what is it that you want? How can we help you? And we haven't kicked that off yet, but we do have all the names. Okay, and Mrs. Stanley also asked us to look at behaviors and mental health like we do a PLC. So when we look at our learning, our instruction, and we name and claim them, we're doing that also with our behaviors. So looking at that. So our future plan is to get everybody TIC trained and to stay active in collaborative partners, to start parent advocacy groups, and to continue professional development that will lead us. So this little book has the questions in it to see, if you were trauma, things, and Jamie will share with you, as she has several things, that during her lifetime she was a number 7, and you could live 20 years less if you have those kinds of numbers. So that's something that, and then this little booklet, and we've updated it, and we haven't printed it yet, but we're going to put it online, lists all the resources in Henderson that we can reach out to for help with our kiddos in all areas. And this is the people and collaborative partners. So we don't necessarily have a committee. We're kind of past committee. We're really in the trenches in the work. But but we'll take, guidance from you. I know this is an issue. It's being addressed in the new federal laws, and so that's my show.
Any comments, board members? We did hear quite a bit about this and requests for this during our Council of Councils, and I believe the board understood that it was a necessary need. And I, like Ms. Bonnie, would suggest if you didn't get a chance to watch the TED Talks link, to please do so. It is very enlightening as to what this could cause for our children, not just while they're in school, but later on in life. Ms. Morgan, would you like to speak to what we intend to do moving forward with that?
Sure. I've spent the fall semester in our schools, and I held several meetings and talked with all of our classified and all of our certified folks, and I asked 3 simple questions. Why or how are you proud of working in Henderson County schools? And the second question was, what are your challenges of working in Henderson County schools? And the third one, do you have any suggestions or solutions to make us a better organization? By far, the number one challenge from our folks that are in our building every day working with kids, we're working with behavior issues, mental health issues, and we framed them in 2 ways: the depth of the sickness that our kids have and the frequency that we see the behaviors. And so through a lot of the things that this fall that Ms. Gelke has led to put into place, we also have heard from the administration in the buildings that the training is good and we have to continue the professional development. It's not like we can just give it to our folks one time and then when they have to experience it 3 months later, expect them to be proficient at handling those things. So we do have to continue with all the things she listed on our future plans. But one thing also that's very effective, obviously the kids are ours. They're all our kids. And so they're coming back to school every day. And Jamie Like, who she's referenced a couple of times, has a team that kind of goes in as an emergency to help folks sit down and try to come up with plans to make the kids more successful.
That's the behavior response team.
Absolutely, but we have one of those for all of our schools. And so Cindy in a few minutes is going to give you kind of an overview of a draft budget looking forward, and it's kind of elusive because it's so early to start looking at that. But I just want to share with the board that as we look forward to next school year, resources, when I say resources, hands, people that can help lead some behavior teams will be something that our classified people have asked for, our certified people have asked for, our principals, and we see and we know that that's a need. We're identifying that very solidly as a need going forward. So I just want to share that with you, that will come back to the table, and appreciate the work. We did also, we heard things at Council of Councils, and we've heard with our secondary principals. They keep those lines of communication very open with us, and we've made some changes at Central Academy since Christmas as well. And we hope that will help support some. Some is a very small number for the large number that we're dealing with. So, yes, we are working with plans. We're talking to our people in the buildings, trying to help them build a really good plan for us.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gowley. Moving on to child nutrition. Ms. Charlotte.
Thank you. Okay, I believe everyone received the annual child nutrition report that is due by January 31st per state guidelines each year. I wanted to just point out a couple of the highlights and then see if you have any questions for me. The one thing I do want to note is that we are in compliance in every area as far as I know. I'd like to keep it that way. The child nutrition qualifying data that is done each year, which is considered our site enrollment, This information is on the first page for you. And on the October qualifying data, I wanted to note, as you can see, as a district for this year, we are at 71% free and reduced students. Now, the October data is pulled, and notice I said free and reduced. This data qualifies any student who is directly certified through benefits under the state, any income, all Head Start children, any child that is homeless is automatically certified under free. So these numbers represent really the bulk of our district. And that's kind of shocking when you look at it. People don't think of Henderson County as being that high for free and reduced students, but we are. Now, the directly certified information that determines our April 1 data for CEP schools, again, it does not consider anybody who's based off of income. It has to be strictly directly certified. They don't consider anyone who's reduced, of course. Only the kids who are on from either SNAP, Medicaid, some assistance through the state. So those numbers will be different, and I will present those in May after we pull them and state accepts them. The next page we'll cover for you on our CEP schools. I wanted to kind of show you, how much it can make a difference when you are a CEP, which is, of course, all free meals if your child attends that school. And one of them that I would like to highlight, if you'll notice, Central Academy. In the year 14-15, we only had 15% of the children at that school eating breakfast. When we changed them to a CEP school, it went from 61%, now we're at 96%. So that's incredible to know that we have increased by 35%, making sure all those kids are getting a good breakfast and starting their day out correctly. The same thing with their lunch. I mean, we've got 100% of the students over there eating lunch now. And normally we only see that 100% at our preschool center, and that's because we serve them their lunch every day. So it's not they come up and, well, I really don't want lunch, I just want to get an entree. We make sure that they are served a complete meal. So if they start learning at an early age what makes a complete meal and what makes a healthy, balanced meal when they go through the lunch line. Last year we did raise the lunch prices. I just want to go over that. And I will note that this year there are no plans to increase any more lunch prices. We did get in compliance with state. We were out of compliance on that section, but it had been over 4 years since any prices had been raised in the district. We are seeing that impact. We're able now, to serve a meal without being in the red on that meal, in order to get them something that they'll actually eat that's healthy and tasty. I do want to note, I did not give y'all any data on our budget, but I'm starting my second year in this department, and I wanted 2 full years in here to show the turnaround that we could do on it. One of our big changes this year was switching to Gordon Food Service, and it should allow us to capitalize on a potential savings on our budget of $130,000. We just want to grow it from there and keep everything headed in the right direction. I do plan to continue to look at some equipment. We do need to replace equipment, but I know I've got to build that budget first. I see him over there. So we are going to do that, and we are going to get the right equipment in those kitchens to make the meals tasty, and to be able to eliminate the deep fryers and go with the combi oven. So do you have any questions for me? I know that was kind of quick.
We appreciate the savings. And
Ms. Barrett, I just wanted,
yes, ma'am, go ahead.
before we leave this, I just wanted to reiterate something that Ms. Baumgartner said. When you look at 71% of our students on free and reduced lunch, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but that is poverty level, basically. Can you give us a round figure of what an income would be in a household to be in that 71%? Number of children, et cetera. So they're homeless as well. Right. And we're thankful that people are taking advantage of it and, enrolling their students in. My point is that I think there is a direct correlation between our mental health issues and our poverty. And I think it's one that maybe our community hasn't seen totally yet. I don't know that if you talk to 10 people on the street, if they would realize that 71% of our students are living below the poverty level and could be homeless. And that leads to stress, that leads to all kinds of things that in turn affect their ability to learn because of their mental issues and emotional issues they're dealing with. So once again, I just wanted to stress that number because we look at numbers all the time and they just flip by on the screen, but 71% of Henderson County students within October. Right. And that changes from day to day, week to week when someone loses a job, a plant shuts down, layoffs happen. So I just feel so strongly about this and our kids and how important nutrition and good emotional health is for them as they're growing up. And anything as a board can do to help either one of you all in those issues, we'd love to do that.
I'm thankful for the breakfast and lunch program that we do have. I remember when I first got on this board 8 years ago, our levels were approximately 56%. And I remember hearing that 56 and thinking, oh my gosh. And now we're at 71. So yes. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Wright. Moving on to old business. We are having the second reading of the 2017-2018 school calendar. Mr. Steiner?
Yes, ma'am. The only thing we've adjusted since last time you saw this last month was we added in our professional development days, convocation, opening, closing, more of a staff type day that are listed, and we shared that we would bring that back to you this month for the second reading to move forward and get that posted so people can make plans. But the only thing added from last time is the professional development days and staff orientation days.
That's the August 2nd through the 7th.
August 2nd through the 8th, opening day is
Opening
one
day.
for staff as well. And then
Okay.
closing day is the possible closing day is the 21st, depending upon weather and that kind of thing. So those
Okay.
are the ones.
If everything else is remaining the same. Any questions regarding that calendar? Ms. Tracy?
Not a question, just a comment that I've had different parents tell us that they really appreciate us setting that second week in October as fall break and the first full week in 1st of April for spring break, and that's much appreciated by parents so that they can put those dates on their calendars at work and ask for vacations.
Those as well, and when you guys did that, I guess this is the second year, received several positive feedback, comments, and that kind of thing. So it's good for them to make plans.
Thank you. So no other questions. I'll look for a motion to approve the 2017-2018 school calendar as listed. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. School calendar set. Thank you, Mr. Steve. Policy and procedure review for chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ms. Morgana.
In your board packet, there was a memo, and it looked at chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. The memo made a notation as to the work that we've completed in chapter 1, so no policies were included in your board packet. Chapter 2 was the same way, the entire chapter we worked through here at the board table. Chapter 3 was one of the chapters where we only brought to you, we being myself or the administration, changes that we suggested. So what you requested then was to go through and determine which policies we never talked about, spoke about, or that we looked at. There is a template. The second attachment in your board packet is the template, and it on the right-hand side is a status as to whether there was a change, no change, draft prepared, all the notations. and then we attached every policy that had no change in there. Chapter 4 was the physical management. The entire chapter was included already into the December 14th board packet for review for any changes, and none were suggested. So at this point, Board Chair and members of the board, I think the suggestion is if there's any policies in here that you all feel from Chapter 3 need to be pulled and reviewed, we would be glad to do that. So Madam Chair, you can kind of advise maybe as to what next step the board would prefer.
I know that we had just asked for a review, that we had gone through all of them. Questions, concerns?
Can you fill me in a little bit? I thought we had, in years past, contracted with a policy review and upgrades and so forth and so on. So just kind of step me through what we're doing.
We do get policy upgrades from KSBA through their service. It was a request of several board members, Dr. Sugg being included in that we go through all of our policies and look at not just the ones that KSBA sends us updates on, but to make sure the ones that maybe hadn't been touched in years, that we went back and reviewed them and make sure that they were current with what they need to be. Our staff went through a pretty detailed process of going through each one. If there were suggestions or things that they need to bring to the board, they did. So we spent 2016 making it a policy review year. So we incorporated KSBA's changes and the changes that our administrative staff went through and brought suggestions.
We were contracting with the KSBA and they weren't keeping it updated. Is that what I hear you saying?
There's some of them that maybe they never changed or never did anything about. Maybe the policy hadn't changed at all, and maybe we looked at it, and for us, it needed to be changed for us specifically, for our board, or maybe there was one that was just a word or two that was off, and maybe they didn't change the word. So it was a combination of two things.
Excuse me? Do you have any comment on it?
Yes, I agree with what Lisa said, but I also, the administration started that very first fall also that I started as superintendent. So we only brought to the board the policies that we thought were changed, and if we didn't think it needed to change, then the board never saw the policy. But at the last meeting, the request from Dr. Sugg and from the board was to bring all the policies that the board never reviewed back in front of them for review, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I explained that any better or not, to be honest. But
I think I understand.
Tracy, do you have something to say?
No, I just wanted to tell the administration how much we appreciate you doing that. I know it was a huge undertaking, and just know that it was very much appreciated.
it was very helpful to us because all of us were in new positions there at the beginning, and but we wanted to make sure that you all reviewed all of them.
I think Dr. Sugg's standard saying was do what we say and say what we do.
Right. And there were things we were doing that were great, but our policy said something different. So we changed the policy to match our good practices. I think this was a great exercise, and I agree with Tracy. It was a tremendous amount of work for a lot of people, especially the administrators in central office. But I feel really good about the fact that not only the board now has reviewed our own policies, but also all of the administrators, especially those that are new, have had a chance to review them and take a look at them. And I appreciate you putting that together, the grid, the way you did. I would ask one more thing. If possible, when I found myself going back for Chapter 3 to find, for instance, one that said no change, I'm just picking out one, 3.11 AP.1, hiring. If you could put the link there so that we could tap into our policy right there so we could read it right there instead of, I had to pull one and then pull up the KSBA website, which I think is very, very non-user-friendly, their KSB portal for policies. That would be so much easier. I don't know if that's a lot of work, but if you could put that link there so we could pull it up, that'd be great.
Ms. Robin, is that a possibility? I mean, if we can do that?
Well, I'm not asking to go back and do chapter 3. I'm just saying from here on, that would be helpful.
But, hold on a second. We're asking Beth if there's a conflict with that. Ms. Beth, is there a conflict with us doing that? Okay. No, doing that. Ms. Margana, you think that's a possibility? We can do that in the future? Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. We appreciate that, and thank you for the notes.
My only request is, are there any policies or procedures in this packet that you have today from chapters 1, 2, 3, or 4 that you all reviewed that you all are recommending changes to at this point?
I don't have any.
Okay, so is it permissible then at the next meeting I bring to you 5, 6, 7, and 8?
I think that would be perfect.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, ma'am.
If there are policies we have not reviewed this past year, I think we do need to look at them like we did previously in a work session. But if there are policies that we reviewed within 2016, I don't know that we need to look at those again. Is that what you're asking, Tracy, for new?
She was asking the time frame when she could do 4, 5, and 6, and by February. The board meeting in February is what she was asking for. Okay. Okay, moving on to...
I'd like to speak up here and make a request that if these policies are in your board packet, can you all not review those ahead of time and just make notations of the ones that you want the full board to review so we're not going through each one individually? I know we did that with the chapter of administration because that was your chapter for sure of how the board works, if that makes sense. I mean, I know they're all board policies, but just for time's sake, if you all could go, is that a request to ask, or?
I don't have a problem with that. It could be part of our board packet and part of our review policy. As long as we don't see any changes, there's no sense talking about it and spending the time going over it if we don't have any questions or don't want to make any changes. Is there agreement with that, board members? Does that sound good? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, no problem. Are we ready to move on to new business? Great. Local Planning Committee, LPC, Mr. Steve.
There's 3 things that we'll need to get done so that we can move ahead on our LPC process. They're all listed there. The first one that we need to come to agreement, or you guys need to come to agreement on, is selecting a board member to serve on that LPC committee. Our first meeting, we've got set up with Butch Canty from KSBA this Thursday evening from 5:30 to 7. The other members of the committee have been kind of informed that as long as we proceed through this evening, we'll be able to meet, and they're aware of that, but needed to make sure we step through these hoops, which is, first one is asking you all to select a board member to be a participant on our LPC committee.
Volunteer for that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Any discussions? I would like to nominate Mr. Mike Waller to be our board member for our LPC committee, and I'll make that motion. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to community leaders. Mr. Waller, since you are going to be the board representative for this committee, have you had a chance to review the applicants for that list?
There were 4 quality. I mean, I'd have to say we're fortunate to have 4 quality folks that volunteered for that. Having looked at that, I would make a recommendation, but I'm not. I mean, I've worked with 3 of those fellows on planning committees in the past, so I would make a recommendation on that. That would be Keegan O'Daniels, Mike Vickers, and John Seitz. All 3 of those fellows have worked on planning on
the LPC committee
in the past, and this will be the 4th or 5th one I've been on.
Okay. would you make that recommendation into the form of a motion?
I just did.
Oh, there you go. I'm getting particular on you. Can I have a second, please? Thank you, Ms. Tracy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Community members named. Architect will be next.
And that's the last thing that we need to take care of. The board requested that we do an RFP to solicit several local and other areas around us that might have an architect that would be willing to work with our LPC. We did that, advertised, and Miss Cindy can share the results. Actually, she can send them to me. They're in front of you, obviously. The recommendation we would have after looking at the final tallies of going through the budget process and seeing their representation is to move forward with the RBS Design Group, and based on their total cost and then also per square foot was significantly less than the other groups that submitted a bid for us.
Thank you. Any discussions, board members, regarding that? No? I make a motion that we approve RBS Design Group to be the architect for our LPC committee for 2017. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Mr. Mike. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. RBS named. Bright Bite survey data. Mr. Chris.
Still not good? There we go. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I was asked to come present to you tonight a little bit of information about the Bright Bites survey that we partook in this fall. Bright Bites is a company that puts out a survey called Clarity. It's a research-based platform where we ask members of our parents, our faculty and staff, and our students information about technology. So we get a lot of information back about that. Could you go to the second slide, please? This is a partnership with the Kentucky Department of Education. There we go. Kentucky Department of Education. And we don't pay for this survey. It's a survey that the Kentucky Department pays for. And they've partnered with about 18 districts to provide this survey so that they can get some information back. And the only thing they've asked for us in return is to make sure that we use the data to inform our decisions on technology. So we've collected it twice now, once in the spring and once in the fall. And there's just some information about there. There is a maturity scale to it, where there's a beginning scale. It goes from 800 to 1300 as a point range, up to exemplary at the top. So if you go to the next one, please. They present this as a CASE score, K-A-S-E, sorry, C-A-S-E. CASE score stands for Classroom Access, Skills, and Environment. So those are some different, they just have different framework pieces in there. So when the questions come back from the survey, they give us information based on these 4 areas. So environment are things like, it mentions the 3 Ps, that's procedures, policies, and practices. And then some basic information there about beliefs, professional development, things like that. The skills area are basic skills that either teachers, or you can leave it on that first slide, it's okay. Basic skills, foundational skills like being able to use a computer, being able to send an email, being able to make an attachment, those kinds of things. The A is access, that's flat access. What kind of technology do the students and the teachers have in front of them, both at home and at school? Okay. And the C is the classroom area. So this is the use of their skills. So how do they implement those skills in the classroom? This document that you guys have is a 41-page document, but at the bottom of some of the pages there are infographics that give you some pointers of the information that's there. So you guys will be able to scroll through there as you can in your packet to go through some of that information. I just want to highlight a couple of the data points. One of them is about basic computing skills. So our students, we had a little over 1,800 students report on this, and 17% of our students say they feel confident in basic computing skills, being able to use email or spreadsheets or word processing skills. Okay, but 78% of them say that they're proficient in multimedia skills, right? So social media, how are they going to take video and edit video? 78%. Okay, so there's quite a bit of drastic difference there. And 87% of the students say that they learn new technologies easily. On the other direction, teachers say, 64% of our teachers say that they are proficient in basic computing skills, email, spreadsheets, those kinds of things. But only 38% in multimedia. It's kind of a flip-flop with our students. So it's an interesting perspective to get some of this information. And 76% of those also say that they learn easily new technology that's out there. Another data point that comes out of this is to show that 95% of our teachers believe that technology enhances learning in the classroom. 95%. 89%, so pretty close to 90% there, of parents also agree. And we had over 400 parents return surveys here. 89% of parents say that technology use enhances student learning in the classroom. So those are important data points to be looking at. We also have another data point. I know that it's been an important question from the board in the past of how many students have technology access at home. Okay? How many have internet access at home or devices that they can utilize? Again, this is a survey, so this is student and parent and teacher reported, but 83% of the students say that they have internet access at home. 83% from this recent survey. 87% of parents surveyed say the same thing. So we have a pretty similar number there. Okay, obviously that number is going to range depending on closer into town. Those numbers are a little bit higher. We do have the numbers per school. They're a little bit lower on our county schools, but still in the upper 70%. So we look at this data and we try to pull out some things that we can use to help our students. So one of those is to inform some of our decisions. We know that we need to look at the use of the 4 C's. I know you can't see the case score up there right now, but the C, the classroom score, is our lowest score of the 4 areas. We have very good access. That's increasing all the time. The skills area is generally pretty good. The beliefs and the environment area, also very good. We have a lot of backing there. But the use of the skills that we already have, how to put those into practice, that's the area where we're lacking. And it's low across the state. So it's not just us, it's low across the state. But using the areas of the 4 C's. The 4 C's are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So those are the areas we want to make sure that we enhance with all of our students as we're going through. And so we need, we're going to be doing some more teacher training specific to the 4 C's so that they can utilize the technology that's available to them in the classroom. We've been looking at increasing training for teachers on how to model digital citizenship and cyberbullying awareness in the classroom, and also to continue to expand PD offerings related to technology integration in general. So those are some of the data points and things that we've found. There's one of the infographics right there. Okay, there's several hundred data points in here. These are just pulling out some basics. Do you have any questions from the board?
Valuable information, Mr. Chris, a lot of which Ms. Margana and I have plans to share with our community leaders, our judge executive, our mayor, to see if we can't get some help on those access points where they're missing. So 83 to 87% is still very good, but you still have 15% of students who, if we do one-to-one devices, won't have access at home. So we need to work on improving that. And yes, I do believe that the 4 C's are going to be critical to be using these devices to get that. Those 4 C's are critical to leadership and the things that our students need to go for, and that's that 21st century, 22nd century skills.
I do want to point out that Mr. Bailey has been working with Chris Raymer from the City Council Planning Commission, and they've been putting together a map of which areas do and do not have internet access across the county, so that that information is forthcoming, so that we'll have a little bit more specific data for that specific piece that you're asking.
Thank you. I applaud our city and county and planning commission for working with them with that. So I'll publicly thank them for that. That will be great information when we get it. Ms. Morgana, anything else on that? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chris. Moving on to the first reading of the 2016-2017 District Improvement Plan. Ms. Kim?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. First, would anyone like more lemonade or cupcakes before we go through these 129 pages? Just check page by page? No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I mean, he's talking 41. I'm like, dude, I'm tripling that. I mean, seriously? You know, it's okay. Don't just. Yes, ma'am. I will be very concise.
Say 10 minutes out here.
Yes, I know. You all know I talk very quickly. I can do that. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to come and share the Comprehensive District Improvement Plan with you this evening. This is a process that our district goes through every year. In addition, all of our schools create improvement plans as well. One of a major advantage that we had this year was because of all of the work and efforts that Mrs. Stanley put in last year with the strategic plan, that many of the things that we had in our goals for our district improvement plan are now within that strategic plan, very much more specific. And so many of our previous board goals are involved in that strategic plan. So our current district plan for the 16-17 school year focuses on the goals that the state requires us to have. So you will see goals in there on proficiency in the areas of reading and math. You will see post-secondary readiness, which is kind of the new phrase for college career readiness, so just substitute those as being synonyms. In addition, you will see gap reduction, addressing and closing the achievement gap. You will also see graduation rate, and the other one that became a new goal across the state for all schools and districts last year is novice reduction. So those are the primary areas that we are focusing on. All of the other things that are still considered board goals, we are addressing within the strategic plan. We typically hold our district improvement plan meeting after Council of Councils. Those 2 evenings were the end of November, and so we held our district improvement plan meeting the first week of December. We had community members there. Our mayor, Mr. Austin, was there. Mr. Aridi with Kendall was there. We invited post-secondary folks from the community college. We had district leadership, school leadership, parents, teachers, invited students to get as many stakeholders involved as we possibly could, as our policies and procedures indicate. We had a group of about 40 people who participated that day in looking at all of our data. We talked about our strengths. We talked about our areas for growth and concern, focusing, again, primarily on these areas. And so I know you've read every single word of this, just cover to cover. It is a very large document. There are some things that become repetitive as they repeat. In addition to the specific goals, there are other assurances and diagnostics that we are asked to do and that the schools are asked to do as well, to look at specific components that the state would like for us to emphasize. Does anyone have any questions about anything in our improvement plan for the first reading?
I just want to comment, this is a tremendous amount of work, and I've been involved in school or district plans since probably the early 90s, and the state has put more and more and more outreach into how those look and how you have to state your goals, et cetera, and I just wanted to compliment you because it looks really good. I'm sorry I wasn't able to participate this year, but it looks like a really good plan.
Thank you. Yes, every year there seem to be new and or different things in there that we learn about and work with, but it's a good process. It helps us learn. The only other thing that I will add is that
in the past, one thing that the state changed this year is that instead of going into the program where all of this is input called assist and doing what are called implementation and impact checks and progress notes, they have asked us to do 30, 60, 90-day plans similar to what we've done with novice reduction plans in the past. And so that's what we as a district, as well as all of our schools, will be doing to monitor how we proceed with this and what adjustments we need to make on a monthly basis. We have, not into a state database, we have, the state provided a template, and I somewhat modified it to make it a little more user-friendly, but include all the components, and we're doing that through Google. Yes, ma'am, it's not anything that if they are, they haven't told me that they want.
Any questions regarding that district improvement plan? Or thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I look for a motion to approve the 2016-2017 district improvement plan as presented by Ms. Kim White. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Kim. Moving on to consent agenda. Approve school activity fundraiser. Approve shortened day for one special education student. 2017-18 contracts for non-resident pupils. Resolution of the board. Electric and gas rates. Use of school buses. A student overnight trip request. Bid recommendations and requests for an emergency certificate. Is there any of those that need to be pulled or discussed before we go forward? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed. Thank you, Dr. Sugg. I'll second that. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda approved. Moving on to financial. Draft budget, Ms. Cindy?
You have the draft budget in your packet. The draft budget is the first of 3 in the budget cycle for 17-18. Statute requires the board to review the anticipated revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year by January 31st of each year. The draft budget is not required to be submitted to KDE for approval, and it does not include Fund 2 or Fund 360. I have included a fund summary showing the anticipated amounts to be budgeted for the revenues and expenditures in each fund. $81.1 million operational budget and a total of $84.4 when you include child care, community ed, and debt service in there. This budget is a continuation of the 16-17 working budget with the addition of rank step increases, benefit increases, additional matching for FICA and Medicare tax due to the law change that eliminated the exemption of retirement for those taxes. This budget also includes the reduction of items that were budgeted in our working budget as discretionary items, which were school buses, the KETS match, TB21 grant monies from the general fund, and money for devices for the one-to-one initiative. These types of expenditures we'll begin discussing those later when we start working on the tentative budget, and will be placed in the working budget as more information is known as to the amount of funds that we'll have left at year end. This draft budget also contains sufficient funds to meet our anticipated debt service requirements of $2.2 million. And as I say every year, the draft budget has so many unknowns at this point. You know, the forecast from the PVA doesn't come until the spring. The forecast for the year-end ADA usually happens after the 7th attendance month, and that will help us determine where our SEEK will be. But some things that we do need to consider over the next few months are how to offset the expenses that we can't control. You know, the rank and step increases, utility rate increases, all the unfunded mandates that we have. You know, those things all cost us millions of dollars each year. These expenses continue to grow with no additional revenue coming in for those to help offset those costs. So, you know, continuing like that, we would need to at some point dip into our reserves if we can't find a way to offset those costs. That's just a really quick overview. Ms. Stanley, do you have anything you'd like to add or any questions?
Good job for a good first start. Like I said, there's a lot of unknown information. It's very preliminary. But we do recognize that there are costs that increase every year that we do have no control over. So we will need to work on the planning for that part of it. Any questions, discussions, board members?
Budget committee, what date? The 1st, what time?
Good, Dr. Sugg? Good? Okay, thank you. Moving on to treasurer's report, also Ms. Cindy.
Treasurer's report for the month of December includes total receipts of $6,667,166 and total expenses of $4,922,735 for a net increase in all funds of $1,744,431. Any questions?
Morgana.
Members of the board, I request your favorable consideration to approve the treasurer's report as presented to us this evening by Cindy Cloutier.
I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Financials approved. Moving on to the paid warrant report.
Paid warrant report is from the period December 20th, 2016 to January 23rd of 2017. A few of the payments I'll point out are the Gordon Food Service for food and supplies, $103,747.48. Danco Construction for work at Spotsville, $86,235.98. Home Oil and Gas for diesel fuel and gasoline, $46,529.96. Kentucky Retail Federation, which is our first payment to our workers' comp insurance, $40,167. Prairie Farms for milk, $34,582.90. Stuart Ritchie Contracting Group for work at Spotsville, $31,847.40. PPMI Construction, more work at Spotsville, $25,106.72. And the Henderson County Sheriff Department for a tax collection fee, $23,840.72. We paid $260,000 to date to them, which means we've brought in almost $13 million of taxes this year. Total paid warrant for this period is $2,566,942.82. Any questions on the paid warrant?
Members of the board, I request your approval for the paid warrant report as presented to us this evening by Ms. Cloutier.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, we pay the bills.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mike. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Pay the bills, Ms. Cindy. It is also noted that the board has been advised of personnel actions by Ms. Morgana. We appreciate that. And I will look for a motion to adjourn this lovely meeting.
Shoot, I'll make that motion.
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
man, you're just jumping right out there, aren't you, Mr. Mike? I'll second that motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.